Hi everybody, welcome back. It's that time of year again. It is the mid-year book Freakout tag. So you've probably seen this one going around a lot. It's kind of almost a rite of passage every year for booktubers to do the mid-year book Freakout tag, and it's basically just a way to look back at the year so far, like just have a look at what we've read so far, what we've enjoyed, what we've not enjoyed, and look ahead to what's to come. The obligatory, oh my god, I can't believe it's the end of June already, what the fuck. Because, I'm not sure if you've noticed, I've been really busy this year. Apologies again for not having the most consistent upload schedule, but you know, that's just how these things go. So yeah, mid-year book Freakout tag. Here we go. Question number 1 is the best book you've read so far in 2022. And for me, that is Last Night at the Telegraph Club by Melinda Lowe. This is a book I read last month in May, and what a book. I have got a spoiler review for it. It is such a fantastic book, really, really great read, and especially since I read Melinda Lowe sort of quite a few years ago, this is the kind of first one I picked up by her for a while, and honestly, she's just improved so much as a writer, and I'm just so excited to have read this book, and it's just such a fantastic book. Definitely my favourite so far. Number 2 is the best sequel you've read so far in 2022, and for that I have to go with The Gifts That Bind Us, which is the sequel to All Our Hidden Gifts, which I read last year. And again, this was just a really solid follow-up to what we'd read in All Our Hidden Gifts. You know, very much just progressing the story forward, progressing these characters forward. Our main character Maeve goes through so much in this book. And you know, one thing I always say about her is that I really like about her is she's a very unlikable character. That continues in this book, but you kind of just, she's still learning to try not to be such a bitch, but she still is, and I kind of just love that about her, because she's just like, you know, she's not a very nice person at the end of the day, but at the same time, she's trying, so like, you gotta give her credit, and that's one of the reasons I really like her character. I really like what we see happen with her friend group in this book. I really like how they, you know, how they explore what happened at the end of All Our Hidden Gifts, you know, because that was actually quite some traumatic stuff that they went through, and I like that that sort of carried over into this book. And very interesting stuff done with some of the antagonists in this book as well, which I thought was just really interesting. Just cannot wait for the third and final book of this series, because it's ended up being such just a unexpected joy. Number 3 is a new release that you haven't read yet but want to. I picked up a copy of Blood Scion, I don't know how to pronounce that word, when I was in London the other day, and whew, I'm so excited to read this. I mean, first of all, look at that cover, holy shit. And second of all, you know, I've been hearing nothing but good things about this book. There was a little bit of hype about it when it released, but I haven't really heard too much after that. Apart from that, it's just very, very good. So I cannot wait to finally get to this book and see what my thoughts are and if it matches up to its glorious cover. Number 4 is the most anticipated release for the second half of the year, and for me that is Bloodmarked, which is the sequel to Legendborn by Tracy Deonn. I mean, if you were on the internet in 2019 or 2020, whenever this came out, you know that everyone was talking about Legendborn, and I've definitely, you know, I read it because of the hype, and I was sitting there thinking, oh, how good can this be? It lived up to every ounce of hype that it had garnered, and I'm so excited for the second book in this series, because it was left on such a cliffhanger. So much was learned in this first book, and I just cannot wait until the second book to just see where these characters are going, what's going to happen to them, what is going to happen to our girl Bree, you know, where this sort of love triangle is going as well. You know, I've not been this invested in a love triangle ever. Usually I hate them, but this one, it's done so well. Just, oh, fantastic, and I'm so excited for a Bloodmarked. Number 5 is the biggest disappointment of the year, and for me that has to be Ninth Reign. I was really looking forward to reading this book because I'd heard lots of really good things about it, and I'd heard some booktubers, you know, describe it as like the best book series they've read ever. I was really, really disappointed in this one. It just dragged. It didn't quite live up to everything I wanted it to be. The characters just kind of felt a bit flat. I do have a spoiler-free review for this one if you kind of want to get a few more of my thoughts on it. But overall, it was very lackluster and very anticlimactic. Amazing world building though, like I will give it that. It had absolutely fantastic world building, and that is what kept me reading. But for me, obviously, characters are a huge part of why I read these books. So if your characters aren't there, then you know, the rest of the book isn't there for me. But you'd have the best plot in the world, but if your characters aren't there, I'm gone. So yeah, I'm a bit apprehensive whether or not I'm going to continue this series. I might try the second book out a little bit just to see if it picks up, but overall, yeah, I just was really disappointed in how this one ended up turning out. Number 6 is your biggest surprise, and for me that has to be Spear, which is one I got an arc for back in January, and it's just a sort of short novella set in sort of Arthurian times, following this lesser known character from the myths, and honestly, it was just such a great surprise. I really enjoyed it. I was expecting to enjoy it as much as I did. I had a few nitpicks here and there and stuff, but overall it's just, you know, I wasn't really expecting it. I only really picked it up because the cover is designed by Ravina Kai, who's one of my favourite illustrators, and yeah, everything kind of went from there, and it was just like, I wasn't really expecting to get approved for an arc, and it was right after I'd read Wizard and Glass, which, if you've seen my Stephen King sort of rant kind of thing, you know I really hated Wizard and Glass, so this is just such a breath of fresh air, and, you know, to enjoy it as much as I did was just, you know, really made my day kind of thing, so that was definitely a big surprise. Another big surprise was Her Majesty's Royal Coven, which I was very lucky to receive this fantastic Fairy Loot edition, because I get the Fairy Loot adult boxes, and I read, you know, this was this month, June's book, and I read it almost immediately just because I was like, oh, what the hell, I might as well just pick it up, it sounds really interesting, I'm in a bit of a witchy mood. And I absolutely loved it. It was really good. Okay, but right up until the last page, because I fucking hate that ending. If you read this, you know what I'm talking about. I cannot stand the ending, holy shit. But other than that, really great book about witches in modern times, and a very interesting discussion about trans women and trans women's place in women's spaces and stuff. Basically, I saw this really good review on Goodreads when I was kind of poking about just to see if people were like, oh shit, this is really offensive, because I wasn't sure if it was about to go down that path. But in terms of its transgender representation, but somebody had written that it basically felt like a response to J.K. Rowling and her whole trans women are just men trying to encroach on women's spaces and stuff. So it's a really fantastic book. Obviously it's very positive trans rep, it's very pro trans rep and stuff, which obviously I'm really happy about, because that whole thing with She Who Shall Not Be Named, you know, it just pisses me off so much that, you know, she's just so against women in this regard and stuff. So yeah, it was a really good book, and like I said, really surprising, just because, you know, it's not one I think I would have picked up on my own, and, you know, because it was just a Fairy Loot book and sort of thing. So yeah, and I read it in almost one go because I just could not stop reading, because I really needed to get to the end and see how this all unfolded and stuff. As I said though, so I really fucking hated the last chapter though, so I might just spoil a review for this just to talk about the representation, talk about the book, and rant about that fucking ending. Number 7 is favourite new author, debut or new to you, and for me that has to be Alice Oseman. Now, a lot of people have been heard about Alice Oseman since the release of Netflix's adaptation of Heartstopper, which is her very popular graphic novel series. This is Loveless, which follows a girl, Georgia, who's just going to university for the first time, and she's never been kissed, she's never been in a relationship before, and she kind of decides that university is her time to shine. However, as things kind of go, and as her sort of, you know, her roommate's trying to help her out with this, but she perhaps finds that maybe she's a little bit asexual and aromantic. I really loved the writing style of this. Obviously this book spoke to me personally because, you know, asexual as fuck, but, you know, I just really enjoyed this one. It was just such a great writing style, and I can definitely see myself reading more of her books. Maybe not the Heartstopper series, because I do like the TV show and I kind of want to just watch the show for what it is, and then maybe once it's done I'll go back to the graphic novels or something. But anywho, it's just a really well written, really great characters, really great character dynamics and stuff, and I just really love this one, so I'm definitely going to be reading more Alice Oseman. Number 8 is newest fictional crush. Now, I don't really get crushes on fictional characters, when it does happen, it happens few and far between, so I'll answer with what my new favourite couple is from a book, and that has to be Ciri and Susibron, however you pronounce his name, from Warbreaker. I read Warbreaker towards this beginning of this year. My friend got me a copy of this for my birthday, which was really nice of her. And yeah, I really like their relationship. I think they're so cute, and I just can't wait to see what happens to them next, because I believe that this is getting a sequel. So yeah, they are my new favourite fictional couple. Number 9 is your newest favourite character, and for me that has to be Shiori from Six Crimson Cranes. I just really liked her character. I like how she sort of went from this kind of like spoiled brat of a princess to, you know, really just kind of learning her place in the world and learning what actually matters to her, and not to judge people for what they are and stuff, just because of everything that she kind of just goes through in this book. I really enjoyed this book. I really want to read the sequel and see what happens to our characters and stuff. But yeah, she was definitely a standout character for me when I read this back in May. Number 10 is book that made you cry, and none so far. I don't really cry at books. If you've been following my channel, you'll know it's happened to me twice in my entire life, and that is The Book Thief and The Travelling Cat Chronicles. So I haven't cried at a book yet this year, so wait around until the end of the year and we'll see if one can finally get to me. Number 11 is a book that made you happy, and that's going to again be Loveless, again just because of the representation. Seeing asexual, aromantic representation written like this, and written in a way that explains it to other people, but also just, you just feel so seen as well. You know, there's just so much that this character kind of goes through that you're just like, oh, I was like that, oh, I completely understand this, I completely understand that. And it was just so, you know, there's just something so fulfilling about being able to read something like this, where you're just like, yes, I completely understand what this character is going through, I completely relate to it. So for me, that's just like what made me really, really happy in this book. 12 is the most beautiful book you've bought so far this year, and I probably have to go with Daughter of the Moon Goddess. I've got the sort of Waterstones edition for this book, and I just really love the UK cover for this. I know everyone else seems to really love the US version, but I just love the pink and the sort of like green just really go really well together, and I love the sort of composition and things. Oh, this is definitely just one of my favourite books that I have bought this year. Number 13, what books do you need to read by the end of this year? Basically everything on Read on my shelf, maybe? No, I have got a few kind of picked out here that I really want to get through that I'll show you right now. So first off, I want to read the sort of sequel series to the Wolf Brothers series. So that consists of Viper's Daughter, Skin Taker and Wolfbane. I'm going to YALC, the YA Literature Convention next month, and Michelle Paver is going to be there, so I really want to get these read before I go. I love the Wolf Brothers series, the Chronicles of Ancient Darkness. I've read it since I was younger. It's like my comfort series. I go back to it time and time again. So when I found out she was writing a sequel to it, I was like, oh my god. Hadn't had a chance to get around to it, and then I was in Blackwell's and they were doing a buy this one, you get these two free. So, you know, I wasn't going to pass up on that one. So I definitely want to get to this series really, really soon. On that same vein, I really want to read The Lionheart Girl. I bought this one back in sort of December, and this author is also going to be at YA Literature Convention. So again, that's another one I really, really want to get to soon. I started reading Assassin's Quest back in like March maybe or something. I'm not that far into it, but this far into it, and I was just, I don't know, it was just really dragging me down for a bit. I feel like it was just taking a while to get going, so I sort of put it down. I haven't gotten back to it yet. I really want to though, because I really like what's this series called? Farseer Trilogy, that's it. I really like the Farseer Trilogy. I really enjoyed the first two, but I was just kind of in a bit of a slump when I started reading this one, and I just haven't really had the sort of motivation to go back to it yet, so I definitely want to try and finish this soon. My friend also got me a copy of The Theft of Sunlight, which is the sequel to Thorn, another one that I just really want to get to sooner rather than later. I really, really enjoyed Thorn. It was sort of an unexpected surprise from last year, and you know, this is sort of like a sort of sequel, sort of companion novel as opposed to a sequel kind of thing, so there's definitely some really interesting like tie-ins to like what was going on in Thorn and stuff, so I'm really, really curious to see what's going to go on there. And then I also started reading When Women Were Dragons, but the writing style kind of like slowed me down a little bit, and I really just wanted to just get through a book at one point, so I kind of put it down, but I'm going to go back to it, so that's another one I really want to get to really soon, just obviously because I have started it, so you know, I do want to go back to it. And those are sort of the main books I kind of want to get to soon. I might do a second half of the year, MBR sort of soon. I kind of did one last year, sort of vague TBR for the rest of the year, so I might do one of those again soon, so keep an eye out for that. But yeah, that is my mid-year book Freakout tag. Have you read any of the books that I've mentioned here? What did you think of them? Let me know down below in the comments. What are some books that you've read? What are some of your answers to some of these prompts? Again, just down in the comments, let me know. I'd love to hear what you've been reading for the first half of this year, and as well what you're looking forward to reading for the next half of the year. You know, what are you looking forward to? What's an anticipated release? Definitely let me know. If you've reached the end of this video, feel free to like and feel free to subscribe. I'm trying to post 2 videos a week, but thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.